Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to have you on. You're in for a treat today. You're going to meet Matt Coffman in a little bit. And meanwhile, it's a hot summer day in Chicago, and I just got home from an appointment. And I don't know about you guys, I'm having a pretty good summer. There's a lot of good things going on, have been going on, going to be going on. I'm going to be in Denver on Thursday doing a Perry Marshall Live, and we have a number of people signed up for that. And then Scott Shang, the following 2 days, is doing an AI summit also in Denver. And those guys did a webinar a week ago, and we got a really nice response from that. We're doing another AI workshop with Scott in Orlando in October, and you can find the dates for that. And today I'm here with Josh Long and Matt Coffman. Josh and I have been running Advanced Mastery Network since 2018, Josh, is that right? It's our highest level group program. And if I say so myself, we've got it dialed in pretty well. And about two-thirds of the people who join stay on for a second year, which wasn't even in the plan originally. We just designed it to be a great program. And several grads of that program have sold their companies for eight figures, including Finn Peacock and Brady Roberts. And another guy I'll think of, Jeff Peoples.
Yep,
Jeff
I forgot
Peoples
about
is
that. Yep.
another grad who's built and sold a company through AMN. Today you're going to hear from Matt Coffman. And Matt runs a company that supports therapists in the marketing of their business. And he's going to tell a story about some.
So the typical path, right? Just up and to the right. That's how it went, Matt, right? Just
If
the
only.
typical Inc. magazine entrepreneur. Is Inc. magazine even around anymore? But I used to read those stories, be like, that's flawless. They just launched it and it went to the moon and they cashed all the checks. And that's how all of your businesses work, right?
So yeah, we're going to hear about the zigzaggy version today.
The reality of what it takes to grow a small business and
That's
become
right.
navigate all of the landmines that exist that we would never even know could show up.
Yep. Matt,
Give us a
why
bit of
don't
an overview of where you guys are at, what you do, and
yeah,
give us the sales pitch of why you're so fantastic.
Yeah, we work with mental health professionals, and mental health professionals end up getting a lot of great training on how to be great therapists. And then whether they want to grow private practice right out of school or they work for someone else for a while and eventually come to the conclusion that they want to grow their own private practice, they get to that point with zero business preparation or training typically. And so we fill in that gap. We equip them with not just strategies, but we end up doing some technology build out for them, some marketing implementation and accountability, which a lot of them need. I call them don't entrepreneurs. Sometimes they're dragged kicking and screaming into doing business ownership. And so we help them with all of that. We have a 9-month program and we've got a team that we've now worked with about 3,000 over the last, we're in our 10th year of doing that.
It's fantastic. And it's a space that has gotten a lot of attention, right? You've got the Better Helps and what was it? There's another one, Aura or Amra or whatever. I can't remember, but that are pouring piles and piles of money into the mental health space, right?
Yep. It's a known area that there's a lot of need. And then the providers are in all kinds of weird situations that typically they end up doing something for a while and they're giving a lot of service and a lot of energy out, but then they reach some point where they realize this isn't working for their family, for their ability to retire, for their ability to send kids to college or whatever. And it's been a real dynamic period of time. We started before COVID and teletherapy wasn't really a thing. And then COVID hit. Now teletherapy became absolutely commonplace and people know what it is and actually want it a lot of the time. So it's been a lot of transformation while we've been doing this for sure.
And it's a market that is overeducated, invests a ton in their education, time, energy, money, effort, and doesn't always equate to worthwhile compensation for themselves.
Exactly.
And so
that's the realization they get to is, wait a minute, when I account for all of this and I'm keeping 40% of the value of what these clients are paying to the group practice or whatever. It's typically a choice point where they decide, is there another way? What else do I do? Do I leave the field, or do I find some way that's more sustainable for me?
And you guys are focused on helping them find their unique niche, differentiate, communicate it, attract, close, service. And I know that we're not here to talk about the outcomes your clients get necessarily, but like you've had some fantastic case studies of people that have transformed their practice with your help, right?
Yeah, we typically, like a standard person who's wanting to charge a normal, reasonable rate for good work and so forth, will double or triple their income. And we have many clients who go on to grow groups where they end up adding multiple clinicians and then growing their income further. They have a bigger ripple effect into their community. They're able to do the kind of therapy they want to do. Maybe they leave the insurance panels and go private pay and are able to not have a third party over their shoulder with all
Yeah.
their work. So there's lots of different routes they take, but typically will double, triple, quadruple or more their income, will get their caseload to be much more sustainable for them, the kinds of clients they're actually able to really help and that they want to show up for all day long and not have to say yes to literally anyone
Who
just
can fog a
because.
mirror? Yeah.
Yeah. And so we help them feel better in their career. We help them make more money. We help them be longer term and more sustainable and possibly grow a bigger venture depending on what they really want to do once
Yeah.
they're full.
And obviously, for everybody listening, this is Matt's one of the good guys that we like helping because he helps so many others that help so many others. And so these are good businesses that Perry and I love investing in and helping with and making a difference. And so you had joined Roundtable, what was that, 2021, 2020, 2021, I think.
Yep.
And that's when you and I met. And you guys were grossly undercharging for the outcomes that you were giving and getting your clients. But you guys had been told before, oh, just raise your prices, right? The whole ego that if you really knew what you were worth, you'd raise your prices. But walk through like how that wasn't just the straightforward raise your prices.
Yeah, so I think the first step was just having the conversation in Roundtable, and then we did a live event down in St. Pete Beach, I believe, and explaining what we actually did and watching you guys get more and more, wow, you're doing a lot. How much do you charge again? What's going on? And it was like, okay, yeah, you guys are actually providing a really valuable service. We kind of blend web development with marketing agency type work, with copywriting, with direct accountability coaching. And you were like, okay, we definitely want to run some pricing experiments, but rather than just arbitrarily raise our prices, Josh laid out a really great testing framework where we tested 3 different price points with our team. We gathered the data. We had the data. We went back to Josh. Hey, here's what we found. Okay, great. We made a great decision that we ended up raising our price from around 6,000 to around 8,000 after testing it all the way up to 10K at that time. And just knowing, like, that was a great example of having this extremely clear guidance. Like you had done this before, you'd help people navigate this. For us, it felt scary, like we're endangering something. Whereas for you, it's like, hey, it's just a test. Let's do it this way. And yeah, we came out of that and that automatically added 15, 20% of extra revenue, mostly profit, to our bottom line after we did that. And honestly, we actually converted more and did better at that higher price anyway. It's added some extra positioning and esteem in the market.
Isn't it so counterintuitive that we just think, gosh, if we raise our prices, we're going to piss people off, we're going to drive people away, we're going to lose business. But so often you can open up a whole new market and a whole new position that you're like, oh, these people are easier to work with. It's the whole meme of the $500 client is like, hey, I sent you 3 revisions. Can you change this? Blah, blah, blah. And the $50,000 client's like, checks in the mail. Like it really is so counterintuitive when you're in that moment of trying to serve more people.
Did you find your clients that you started getting after that were more appreciative and had better compliance?
We did. We had more buy-in, more skin in the game, more commitment, more willingness to trust us. Like really our mantra internally is trust the process, do the work to our clients. If you can just trust the process and do the work with us, we're going to get you exactly where you want to go. It's where people have other ideas or they start nitpicking or whatever. That's when it gets hard. And that did diminish when we raised the price for sure.
So you then upgraded to AMN, and it was a curveball for us because we're like, great, we just dropped 20% to the bottom line and let's just keep going. But you came to Perry and me and you were like, guys, I want to blow all this up.
Yeah. I was in a business partnership at that time. And part of it was just a natural progression of having worked with someone for 10 years at that point and seeing the trying everything I could think of and getting to the end of my rope and being like, this isn't making sense. Another part of it was being around the community that Planet Perry, it's very sane, it's very sober, it's very aware, worldly. And yeah, the partnership wasn't working anymore. And that became real obvious through that time working with you guys. And so we joined AMN thinking we're going to go to the moon. Here we go. And instead, it very quickly we started in September of 21. And by November of 2021, it was like, this doesn't work. I cannot continue in this way anymore. And then now what do I do?
And I think the interesting thing is I talk about confrontation in my book. I wrote a whole chapter on it because I think it's a superpower that so many of us don't develop, especially in the Protestant, turn the other cheek, take the short end of the stick kind of culture that so many of us grow up in. And one of the things I talk about is in confrontation, the whole goal is to resolve a dysfunction. Like, that's it. Like, it's not to get your way. It's not to be right. It's not to beat up anybody else, but it's to resolve a dysfunction. And for many people, the ultimate outcome is they have to walk away from the relationship, the deal, the structure, the whatever. And there's this great spoken word rap. I got to think of the name. I got to find the name because I referenced it so much, but it showed up in my Spotify feed, and he's just kind of sharing wisdom. And this one line in it is, if you can't walk away from a negotiation, you're no longer negotiating. You're just working out the terms of your enslavement. And I think that was the biggest cheat code for you. Was you said, this isn't working. Yes, we're 8 years in, whatever, but I'm actually willing to walk away with nothing because that's better than sticking around with whatever is going on here. And like, it's a hard spot because you think, I'm just going to screw it all. It doesn't matter. I'm apathetic. But that's not actually where you are. It's almost like you care so much that you're not willing to put up with the dysfunction any longer.
Yeah. And just, I'm a weird case study for AMN in the sense that the first year of AMN was this massive undertaking to figure out what to do with this thorny knot. And so very first thing I did, and one of the great parts about AMN is, okay, book a call with Perry, book a call with Josh, go and here's what's going on. What do I do? I've never gone through a partnership difficulty. I've never gone through any kind of a buyout or anything like that. So I had people to talk to who had experience about that. But yeah, it was not what I expected, and it was terrifying, and it felt very good to have this kind of support that AMN provides, where it's really x-ray vision into the entire business. And we were talking about prices or sales or marketing, and all of a sudden we're talking about partnerships and relationships and communication and negotiation.
And so then it quickly became a negotiation. And I don't remember, but did your partner ever say, hey, I'll buy you out? Was that ever an option?
He didn't. He said it as like a thing that could happen, but it was never serious because effectively this was my IP. This was the team I built. That it wasn't really.
You're the operator. Like, you were the vision. You built the culture. You built the content. You built the process. And he was more over the sales team, sales and marketing at the time.
Yeah, which had been increasingly dysfunctional and ineffective, which was a big spur for why this had to happen. Yeah. So
then when we think of the negotiation and you're like, hey, I need out, you need out, we need to get out of this some way or another, then it quickly turned to, okay, you're buying him out. And you're like most businesses, you guys didn't have a buy-sell agreement. There's no valuation, determination, nothing. It's just, hey, who can negotiate better and who's going to make a bigger fit and who wants this more, right?
Yes, exactly. And like, again, if I hadn't had access to you guys, I would have been just Googling and like, maybe, I don't know, talk to some random lawyer or something. I really wouldn't have known how to even approach the process. But instead, through talking to you guys, it was like, okay, here's the round ballpark, like options, and here's what we've seen. And I was able to start the conversation with my former business partner with something real, something that I wasn't trying to take advantage of him. I was just trying to solve a problem, for sure.
And I think Perry gave you probably some of the best counterintuitive advice I've probably ever heard in a conflict like that was treat your partner with respect and don't go scorched earth. And I don't remember how you phrased it, Perry, but essentially you were like, pour heaping coals on his head, care for him. And
so this is the most, to me, interesting part of the whole thing was I felt like there were three dimensions to getting the partnership separated successfully. So one was, how does the work get redivided? Two was, how does the money get split up? And the negotiation, and how much is the business worth, and how is it financed? That's a big piece. And then the third of it was what I felt usually gets neglected was, what word to use, how are we managing the bank account of respect in the relationship? And so I think anybody who's been in any relationship that went from good to bad can, whether it was a spouse or a significant other or a business partnership or even in just an employee,
A friend, employee,
in
whatever.
a relationship that's gone sour, what happens is you you hit a point where you're in a state of irritation, and now a 5% problem seems like a 500% issue in your life. Like every little nick and cut and scratch and mosquito bite is like a flaming boil. And now all of a sudden everybody's upset at each other, and it just festers and it goes into the ditch. And then if you're selling a business or if you're settling a divorce, now the lawyers are dividing everything up and everybody ends up with 25 cents on the dollar, and it's really ugly. And I felt Matt scheduled a call with me, and I had this very immediate sense like we have to set aside the boiling pus of like people not getting along with each other. We need to just set that aside somehow and give as much credit where credit is due as humanly possible. And not, this needs to make the other person look good to the employees, to any clients that are aware of what's going on, and to himself. So maybe I'll ping it over to Matt. That's what I remember.
Yeah, and that was not where my mind was. My mind was on the declining sales totals and the marketing disasters, and just really not feeling like I had this amazing product with this incredible fulfillment team, and the parts of the business where you're supposed to be overseeing were falling apart, and I was not happy about it. And Perry set me back into, okay, that's how I would want to do this. That's how it's going to happen successfully also. So it works both ways, but it was also, that's how I want to feel. That's how I want this to go. And I don't know that I would have come to that place. I might have tried, but there would have been this thorn inside me that probably would have emerged, that would have come out in anger. And instead I was just able to get back to that. Okay, that's helping him feel respected through the process. That had to be a core of the piece of the process. And so that was how it went from that point forward. And it took a few months and several conversations, but it was much easier thanks to your guys' help. I mean, I don't know how it could have possibly gone better and quicker and smoother and easier than it went.
And could you tell us what are a couple of things that you did to ease that and make your partner feel more appreciated?
We had a sequence of probably 3 conversations in December of 2021 where I was very clear. I had my boundaries really clear, because it also was important to just not leave the weird gooey possibility of this continuing.
Ambiguities. Yeah.
Right. So everything's super clear, but also saying thank you for all what we did. Thank you for all the time. Thank you for everything you did contribute. I didn't dwell on, there was no reason to dwell on what the specifics of all of the marketing numbers or the sales numbers or anything like that. It was just that once the decision was made, none of that really mattered. It was just a matter of finding our way to the next place, whatever that looked like. And so I just left all of that aside and kept the conversation civil, respectful, with a lot of gratitude in every time I interacted with him, and at the same time really clear that I was done.
And so you had brought the first like real terms to me of the buyout, and it was like I don't know, a 3 or 4 year payout, and it was a pretty high
bankruptcy
amount.
plan. Yeah. It was the Matt goes bankrupt in the next 3 years plan.
And I just looked at it and I was like, man, I don't think this deal jives. Like, and I don't know what was the trigger, but I was like, you should go talk to an SBA lender and talk a little bit about what that unlocked and what that ended up doing for you.
Yeah, I didn't know what was possible for this kind of thing. It wouldn't have occurred to me that there were resources where this would have been so straightforward and relatively easy to get, but it turned out that was the exact skeleton key I needed. I think you guys even put me in touch with a loan officer who wasn't in, I'm in Nashville. He wasn't in Tennessee, but he was with an organization that had reps here. And so I ended up getting connected with the best loan officer of any kind I've ever met, who I've recommended other people to subsequently. It was just incredible. And yeah, in the end, because I was able to use the SBA loan to get a payout all in one lump sum, the whole thing was much more manageable for me. It extended the terms and decreased the total and made the cash flow impact on the business actually sustainable and fine, despite the challenges that had to be put back together.
Overcome. Yeah.
So you saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars in the difference in the valuation or what I would have paid out, as well as literally, I don't know how I would have survived with the cash flow situation with the other arrangement. And yeah, it made it happen. Basically, that was the way that it actually concluded. And so by May 1st, from December, the whole thing was complete, was done, check was sent. I signed on to an SBA loan to carry it from here. And we were actually, this whole problem got solved well within the year of Amen. So if I brought it to you guys in November, they're like 6 months and we're done, we're good.
And I think the thing about the SBA and what you said about you didn't even realize what the options were. I tell everybody all the time, like literally everything is make believe. Every rule that's ever been created was invented in somebody's mind. Every structure was just made up on the spot. And so when doing deals, this, for anybody listening, it's not just buying out partners, but it's any deal, whether it's with a client, whether it's with buying a company, whether it's whatever, it's all negotiable. All the terms are all completely malleable. And people say, oh, but in this industry, we do net 90 terms. It's great. I know plenty of companies that get paid up front, like even on net 90 terms. Like it's all make believe. And so any deal I really think comes down to, at the end of the day, that it's the terms. Because Perry, I'll pay you $1 billion for Perry Marshall and Associates and your cancer business all in one. Right now, I'll pay $1 billion. The deal, right? And you're like, okay, how do I get paid? I'm like, I'll pay you $1 a day, right? So the terms drive everything. And obviously for you, Matt, you benefited that the SBA helped you get a lump sum up front. So you negotiated down the cash. So that saved you $300,000 or so right off the top. But then you now got to stretch it over 10 years instead of 4 years. So obviously we all know loan payments. You just do the math that the payments are much, much more palatable. And the beauty is that you get to pay that off out of the new profits that keep growing, right?
Yeah.
So it's essentially zero out of pocket for you to pull this off.
Yeah. It was a game changer for me because it also then let me then have the post buyout experience and leveraging your support and continuing to try to solve the problems and then grow from there. But I honestly, yeah, it's a very strange AMN testimony or testimonial, but I would not want to run it back and not be an AMN with something like this going on. And this is not why I joined. This is not why I was in the roundtable. Raising the prices was way more fun, but to have this kind of brain trust with something that I didn't foresee, but it just became obvious and had.
Well, and I think there's something to be said about putting yourself in the arena, right? Like the crucible of inspection. Being in roundtable, being in AMN, you could ask questions and you could coast and you could just stick your head in the sand and be like, no, everything's fine. We're just going to grind through it. But by getting in and taking the willingness to be inspected and keep having hard questions asked with the whole goal of optimizing and making it better and having it serve your life and your goals better, squeezes this stuff out, right? It just forces you to go through the crucible, the pressure. I like the line that pressure makes diamonds or bust pipes, right? Like,
yeah, the way you guys run it with the live events and the time with other entrepreneurs, time to talk to other people and just really get to know who you're in with your cohort in the biweekly calls, the live events, and then the hot seats. where you're bringing whatever your best thinking is about, this is where I'm at with the thing I'm trying to solve. And then the hot seats are hot. They're not dangerous, but they bring up things into the light that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. The kinds of questions that you're asking that the rest of the cohort is asking as they've been getting to know you across time in AMN. Yeah, it's a great situation for bringing out things that you weren't really aware of and confronting them, actually doing something about them rather than continuing. No, I like when this is under the rug. Yeah, really valuable container for that and for everything else we did after that.
And so afterward, you got to become a sales manager and you got to go down that path. And you and I have done an interview talking about my help with your sales team, and we don't need to get into all of it, but what were some of the insights that you gleaned over the last few years of taking over sales, not considering yourself necessarily a sales manager, not being a natural driving salesperson by nature? What are some of the insights that you can share with the listeners here?
Yeah, so the big two problems to solve after all of that were marketing and sales. Marketing was much more straightforward. That kind of played to my strengths, and I was able to get that wrapped up within 6 months. And we hit like double or triple the volume that we'd ever been able to hit before, thereby proving that it was good thinking to change things up, not even to mention all the personal stuff with the buyout. But then after that, yeah, the sales problem was much thornier. And that was primarily because it was not an area that I would say is a strength. And so that became a real part of the focus of year 2 in AMN, was like, okay, how do you run a sales team successfully? How do you find good people? What is the sales philosophy? Because I think in my experience, our sales team was a little bit distorted. It was because I don't think that it was being run as ethically as the rest of our business was. Had some of this like pressury stuff from that's just easy to get if you go on YouTube or wherever.
It is. There's so much out there. Unfortunately, there's so many knuckleheads promoting this is the way to sell, and objection wrangling, right? Ego stress and all that stuff that I just don't think it fits for 95% of businesses out there. And that yours is an ethical one. So why would you sell in an unethical way?
Yeah, so how to get all of that out of the sales process and to refine and evolve the sales process really became the work of the next year. And you really working with Josh on this, and there's a section of his book about selling that there's a chapter, and it's really good. And there's a section in that chapter about selling like a surgeon, which it became really the mantra of the team. And it's really how we operate. It's like, we're the surgeon. We go into the operating suite. We know what to do. If we're meeting with the patient beforehand, we're doing it from a place of expertise, and just here's how it's going to work. Here's what we can do. Do you even have the problem? If so, here's how we can help it. And that changed the game for us because it allowed us to represent ourselves well and confidently, but also stay in our spot in the conversation with the sales team. And it helps my sales team think of themselves in a way that's like, they have a lot of esteem because we are actually changing lives. We've seen many of our clients go from one trajectory to a dramatically better trajectory. And we've had clients, I was talking to a client this morning, we've been working together since 2016, so 9 years of a relationship. So that's the kind of thing that we've got going on. We're not just a one-off, see you later, good luck. It's like we're still here working with a lot of clients for a long time.
Yeah,
and so our sales team was able to have that sort of authority on the calls. And that came from many conversations and tweaks to the sales process, working with you guys inside AMN. Again, this is an area that I literally would say of all the things I have to do in business, it was like the weakest for me. It's just not. Marketing is much more straightforward. Copywriting, I've been a student of Perry's copy for 15 years or whatever, that I felt like strong in. Accounting, like strategy, vision, management, that all felt easier than this sales conundrum. And yeah, happy to say that all that work, we transformed the sales team after that. We actually changed the culture, changed a lot of the people, and got to a much better level of performance.
Yeah. I think when we worked last year, I came in and helped add to your sales team, upgrade, replace some talent that had left. That you had told me one thing, that you had worked with another company, another trainer, that all of the techniques just felt like it was essentially like you were wrestling with prospects. And for anybody listening, I think Spin Selling by Neil Rackham, I mean, it's a 37-year-old book at this point, I think. But it still walks through a very consultative approach that when you said you read it and we were going through it, you're like, man, I feel like I'm just having to deprogram a lot of bad habits. And I think for anybody that resists sales, resists selling, and resists the gurus out there that are saying you got to have the high energy, you got to use all the objection wrangling, and you got to get people to say yes all the time, and use NLP and incept their answers to all the crazy stuff we hear. Like, you just let all that stuff go. And if you just focus on, hey, how do we help them? And I talk about in the book, my book, The Sell Like a Surgeon, it was just from my experience of being around surgeons, and I wanted to be a surgeon in a prior life. And like, they diagnose and then they prescribe and they say it confidently, and there's no wrestling. It's not, hey, Perry, you got a torn ACL, and if you agree today, I'll give you 20% off if you buy today, because I really think this is in your best interest. And I know you don't need to ask your wife, because you're your own man and you don't need to get her approval, and like all these things that like no surgeon would ever do, right? But they help people and they do it confidently, and the people follow their lead all day long as they lead more confidently. And I think that's probably 90% of sales, is transferring confidence. It's saying, I understand your problem, and here's how we're going to solve it. And I'm confident we can get you that outcome. I'm not just selling you a timeshare pitch that has blackout dates 95% of the time. That's what most people are afraid of, is that you're not going to be able to deliver. So that's awesome. I think once we got the right team on board, then you got to see all of it come together last year. What'd that look like?
Last year. So 2022 was the recovering from the buyout process. 2023 was the learning what didn't work in the sales process, going through trying different tactics that were clearly meant for, I don't know what, selling crypto scams or something. I don't know. They didn't work for us. Then last year, everything started clicking. We got the right people in the right seats, the right approach, and we hit new records for us. Probably grew by 20% over the prior best year. And most of that was in profit too. Like we stayed very efficient. We just had this extra capacity that we weren't able to grab through the sales and marketing, and then we were able to get it. So it was most profitable year, highest revenue year, and a great year all in all. Like, good experience for me, for the team. We grew the team a bit, and we kept improving and refining our culture. The sales team is actually now like the best group I've ever had, and that started last year. About a year ago. Most of my team's been with me 2 years. 1 year in that zone is when we were doing all this recruiting and training. Yeah, the happy ending last year, in terms of that was the year that the buyout finally came together and it all made sense. And I'm so glad I did that.
You got to consolidate it. Yeah.
Yeah. We got five salespeople these days.
Yep. That's awesome. Yeah. And that was up earlier. You did 2 or 3 at some point. And I know when I was helping you,
we could never fill even 2.5 salespeople. So when I got the marketing dialed in, we were able to double the size of the sales team. This is all post buyout. So yeah, thanks to the marketing work, double the sales, double the input, therefore double the sales team, and improve their performance.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
And what I'm hearing is that you like running a sales team, which is not typically what you'd hear a marketer say.
It took a long time. It took a while to get there. But when I was trying to run it like the way that you're supposed to run the sales team that you can hear from all these places, that didn't work for me. So that's why 2023 was rough. I was trying all these different approaches. Once I realized that like I can play to my strengths, I do have a lot to offer. I've also done a lot of sales at this point, and no one knows more about this than I do in terms of just product knowledge and how these calls go and what it's like to navigate the various questions and so forth. So yeah, it became an area of interest and strength. And I respect the sales. Sales is tough. It's really the area of business that for me came the hardest. And so I have a lot of respect for my team and also just the profession. And so I've even become a bit of a student and continued. So spin selling, amazing read. So grateful to have encountered that and what pieces we've been able to bring in and use directly. And yeah, these days, sales is not a headache. It's something I actually enjoy and appreciate the nuances of.
And I think last year it was fun because you had your life expand and growing a family, and you're like, I need to take some time off, and I don't want to necessarily designate a sales manager, which is a very common thing, not just in sales, but in all parts of business, to prematurely title somebody. And so you're able to get like your team, designate a team lead with your longest standing best salesperson at the time. And she stepped up and even did some training.
Because you guys said, hey, you should recruit from your client base. And we found this amazing salesperson who did our program and knows it from the inside and was a therapist, but also is an entrepreneur at heart. And so even finding her, and then, after having her on board, she was able to step in and be a leader on the team while not being the manager of the team. Yeah.
And what did that give you a vision for when you were able to take some time off? Because you're the typical 80-hour kind of week kind of guy that can dive in and have a high horsepower to get a lot done. But now that you've got a family and you realize I can't put in 80 hours, what did that unlock for you, seeing your sales rep step in and lead in a way that you probably would have felt guilty or not even done had you not had the outside stimulus?
Yeah, it showed me that like a lot of the activities we were doing to try to maintain sales culture and improve performance, it was a classic 80-20. There was about 80% of them that we could stop doing and maintain performance and just do more of the things that were most valuable. So it refined for me, oh, what is this about? I do a 30-minute one-on-one with everyone each week. We have one meeting a week, and I do call reviews regularly, like one a week for each rep. And doing those things, and then just being around to answer questions as needed, that's what works for us. Not 5 stand-ups a week and all manner of other things that we tried along the way. It's like just the right number of meetings, just the right amount of support for them, available in different ways. And also how to train them became a big thing, how to get people to perform and how to cross-pollinate the wisdom of the different people and their strengths. That it's okay if this guy's really good at the end of the call and just like getting people across the line, and Jen is great at compassion and connection and rapport, and we all need to learn from each other. So it started to be like that. It's a sales scene that we're the best at selling this in the world. No one's going to come in from the outside and know the right way to do it. We always need to filter through our expertise, and starting to trust that we have our own little institution here, and we've got a lot of things we figured out, and we have a culture that's really healthy and good and great and still high performing. And
can you get along with them? Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think that was the funnest, was just recruiting, knowing you and being able to recruit those people for you and get that culture match and performance match. It's super fun and fulfilling to watch come together. Awesome. We've got a handful of questions here. Now, we answered Emery. He's got 5 sales reps now, 2021. So yeah, he's got 6 years to go on the payments.
Only 83 more to go. Yes. Not that I'm counting.
Yeah, and it is fun when the plan comes together. I think that's the beauty of the zigzag path ending up in a positive direction. Anybody else have any other questions for Matt or for Perry and myself as we wrap up here talking about AMN? We've got year 8, I think we're going into, starts here in the next month. And we've got a great group, so we're excited to keep growing this. If you're in that $2 to $10 million range and you're like, gosh, I don't know if I want to keep growing this. I don't know if I want to turn this into a cash cow. I don't know if I want this to run better without me. I don't know if I'm missing skills that could make this a lot easier to run. Just reach out, hit me up. I'll throw my email in the chat. It's just josh@perrymarshall.com, and we can have a conversation, see where your business is at. I promise I won't hold anything back. We'll dig in and get you some solutions, even if you don't join AMN. But Matt, this has been great. We really are stoked for you. It's so fun to celebrate your wins, cheer you on. You are the good guy that we like seeing win, and we need more good guys winning in the world. So thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure. Hope it was useful. And this isn't me, how to say this. If you guys are at all on the fence, you should definitely do AMN. If you need help, if you need good wisdom and advice, and if you want access to these guys' expertise about any element of your business, AMN is what worked for me. And just can't say enough good things about it. I've sent people your way, and I will continue to do.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah.
Nothing like a great student. So good job, Matt.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, everybody.